Hello and welcome everyone to the week ahead commodity report, where we of course will be reviewing the markets for the week ahead. Historically, the final quarter of the year from October through to December has always been considered one of the most lucrative periods of the year for commodity traders, and once again that trend is certainly living up to expectations. As we transition through the final quarter of 2022, we are firmly in the grips of one of the greatest wealth transfers in modern history, packed with a series of highly rewarding money-making opportunities. Everything from escalating global inflation to monetary policy crisis to the currency crisis to the energy crisis, all topped off with US midterm elections. And just in case that wasn't enough, things could be about to get even more exciting with talks of a potential return to quantitative easing and the start of a new oil war between OPEC and the United States. This explosive cocktail of events throughout this quarter, it's guaranteed to be a license to print money, which traders will not want to miss out on. In fact, Goldman Sachs, JP Morgan, Citigroup, they have already begun preparing their clients for what they predict could be one of the most profitable quarters ever seen. Last week, Morgan Stanley, BlackRock, and Bank of America, they joined the list advising their clients to sell equities and rotate capital into commodities, ready for a massive Christmas bonus. Interestingly, Bank of America, they were the biggest buyers of commodities last week, adding a net 6.3 billion. That's the third largest inflow into commodities ever recorded in a single week since the 2008 financial crisis. Bank of America told their clients that commodities are now close to the bottom of their cycle and on the verge of a spectacular end-of-year rally. If you've been kicking yourself for missing out on some of the biggest wealth creation opportunities so far this year, and you still want to make 2022 your best year yet, then you've just been granted the ultimate gift. Right now we have crisis on top of crisis, which, as you know, for traders, this translates to opportunity on top of opportunity. This is the time that traders wait decades for, because it's times like these that make millionaires and billionaires out of regular people. There are lots of traders out there who completely missed the previous greatest wealth transfers in history, such as the global financial crisis in 2008 and more recently the pandemic in 2020. The ones that saw the opportunity and knew how to capitalize, they accumulated life-changing wealth. According to the World Wealth Report, 6.2 million ordinary people, they became millionaires for the first time during the 2020 pandemic, which is more than any other time in history. And I'm sure all of us know a friend, a colleague, or even a family member who made an absolute fortune. But history is about to be rewritten. Once again, we find ourselves at the forefront of one of the biggest wealth creation opportunities of all time. And this explosive cocktail of events that is currently unfolding now presents the third greatest wealth transfer of our lifetime. You don't want to be the person who knew about this, had a chance to capitalize on one of the greatest wealth transfers ever, and missed out again. There is no secret that the global financial markets, they have entered an exciting new phase. After being criticized for being slow to recognize inflation, the Federal Reserve and its central bank peers, they have embarked on their most aggressive series of rate hikes since the 1980s. And so far, those efforts have hardly made a dent on inflation. If anyone expected inflation to peak this year, the US Consumer Price Inflation Report for September, that has definitely dashed any hopes that price pressures had peaked. Data released last week showed US consumer price inflation in September that accelerated at its fastest pace in 4 decades, registering its largest annual increase since 1982. As the Fed aggressively hikes rates in a desperate hope to tame rapidly surging inflation, its actions have dramatically strengthened the dollar, whipping up an inflationary storm both domestically and internationally across every economy in the world. With inflation showing no signs of abating, many economists, they now anticipate that the world may be about to revisit something it's not seen in decades: stagflation. For those who truly understand the significance of stagflation, they will know every time the world has entered a prolonged period of stagnation, commodities have gone on to become the best performing asset class all round. The prospect of stagflation returning strikes fear into policymakers because there is nothing they can do to stop it. Raising interest rates may help reduce inflation, but increased borrowing costs further depress growth, keeping monetary policy loose, meanwhile risk pushing prices higher. The hard-hit reality is that global policymakers, they now find themselves caught in a vicious cycle of their own making because they didn't move quickly enough on raising rates last year. And if that wasn't enough, OPEC's recent decision to cut output production by 2 million barrels per day, that's the largest output cut since the 2020 pandemic, presenting yet another headache for the Federal Reserve and its central banking peers, as the world reels from soaring inflation, partly driven by surging energy prices. The OPEC cartel, led by Saudi Arabia and Russia, they have now decided to pour further fuel on the inflationary fire. As traders very well know, there is a strong correlation between inflation and commodity prices. When inflation accelerates at a red-hot pace, so do the price of commodities, and there's no denying that the combination of stubbornly entrenched inflation, a strong US dollar, and OPEC's unprecedented move to keep oil prices sky high, that breathes oxygen into the commodity supercycle and lays the groundwork on an explosive end to the year that traders will not want to miss out on. Extraordinary times, they create extraordinary opportunities, and right now, as traders, we've been gifted one of the greatest wealth transfers ever in history. If you've been kicking yourself for missing out on some of the biggest trading opportunities so far this year, and you still want to make 2022 your best year yet, then you still have time. Just go to www.jointhegoldensilverclub.com. The link is also below this report in the description, so just click on the link, make an application, and we will of course get in touch with you ASAP. So with that, let's move over to the charts and we'll talk you through exactly what we're looking at here as we head into a new week. So first of all, as we discussed with you last week, the game plan has been and continues to be, if we see further breakouts and strength to the upside on commodities, we are very simply going to take more profit off the table. We took the opportunity at the start of the month, particularly after the Bank of England went ahead with quantitative easing, to build into a number of positions. In fact, those trades delivered a windfall amount of profit for us at the Gold and Silver Club in the first week of October. As you know, over 11,000 points profit on all of our open positions. So alongside that, we are now looking to continue to scale out of further profits on those trades, many of which we've already banked 75% on. So if we move over, for example, to platinum at the moment, you can see this is quite a range-bound market. We are in the middle of the range right now. If we were to get further breakouts to the upside, back towards the recent swing highs of 950 US dollars per ounce, bear in mind that platinum is currently up approximately just under 5% for the month so far, we would continue to scale out of profits. However, if we do see further pressure to the downside, coming back down towards the swing lows, key areas of liquidity, very much like the plan here on gold and on silver, that is where we would look to reaccumulate yet again at the swing lows and buying back in at much lower prices. What you would have observed here over the last week and a half is that silver at the beginning of the month had a 9% breakout, one of the biggest one-day moves that we've seen since February of 2021. However, subsequently, we have seen silver create a bull trap, many traders getting lured in and trapped at the recent highs here, only to see yet again another rug pull on this market, taking the price all the way back down towards the swing lows, which I see as a fantastic gift and opportunity here to reload yet again at much lower prices. So I'm looking to do that with both gold, with copper, with silver, and also platinum. So really take advantage of further pressure that we may see throughout this month on many commodities here, particularly if the dollar continues to break above the recent swing highs, breaking above the 20-year highs. If US Treasury yields, they continue to ramp up as well, this is going to provide a perfect environment to swoop in and scoop up many commodities at much lower prices. We're in a perfect spot here after banking a windfall amount of profit at the beginning of this quarter to now deploy that capital and get back in at much lower prices here on commodities. It's also the same with crude oil, which typically at this time of year does tend to be under pressure, particularly as we go into a midterm election, which we're going to see, of course, as we go into the month of November. So very simply, you would expect oil to be under further pressure here as we get towards the month of November. That would be the usual playbook here at this time of year. I mentioned also natural gas last week as well, which was one of the strongest performers on Thursday into the close, 5% breakout to the upside. You can see we've been coiling now on natural gas for quite some time. Typically within the cycles that we're tracking on natural gas, it can be a strong performer as you move into the month of November. It's definitely one to have on the radar at the moment as we're getting multiple taps back down towards that 6.4, 6.3 level. Very simply, if natural gas was to break all the way down towards the previous swing lows, I would see that as a fantastic opportunity to reload on this market as well. So again, I see this very favorably now as we go into this point in the cycle, as we move towards the end of the month and then move into the midterm elections, then the FOMC statement, the European Central Bank, the Bank of England, when we have all of these central bank decisions regarding aggressive interest rate hikes. I see this as the perfect cocktail to reload at lower prices, accumulate further exposure, and then benefit from the end of year rally on commodities. As we enter a new economic climate, the importance of having an essential income-generating skill like trading, that has become a must-have necessity. If you want to actually reach your long-term financial goals in these rapidly changing markets, you can't just stockpile cash in a savings account, because rapidly surging inflation, that will erode your wealth and purchasing power. Instead, you need to make your money work as hard for you as you've worked hard for it. One of the biggest obstacles that holds back 99% of retail traders from achieving their desired success, it's not having access to the correct professional strategies, institutional level data, and market intelligence to make confident decisions with accuracy in these fast-moving and highly lucrative markets. There is a huge gap between the top 1% of professional traders and the bottom 99% of misguided retail traders who simply rely on outdated technical analysis and gimmicky technical indicators that simply do not work in these markets. If you want to get yourself out of the bottom 99% and into the top 1% who are actually crushing it and making 6, 7, and 8-figure returns in these markets, then you need to utilize a professional, research-driven approach, or you'll end up wasting lots of money, time, and effort and have no results to show for all of your hard work. In these fast-moving markets, technical analysis and outdated technical indicators, they will not work. Those days are long gone. If that's all you're relying on, then the odds are already stacked up massively against you. If you want to change your results, then there's only one way to do it. You have to change your thinking process and actions. If you want to learn our exclusive research-driven approach that is never taught to retail traders and only reserved for professional traders in banks, hedge funds with access to powerful game-changing insights, including where banks and hedge funds are buying and selling in real time, key liquidity zones so you can enter and exit the markets with pinpoint precision, fundamentals, macroeconomics, capital flows, the daily, weekly, monthly, and quarterly real-time data-driven and intermarket correlations, then you need to join our mentorship program. As we transition through the final quarter of the year, we are heading into a highly lucrative and event-driven period. If you want to successfully capitalize on huge opportunities ahead and build significant life-changing wealth, then there's no better time than now. If you want to upgrade your income, then you need to upgrade your skills. Never underestimate what you can achieve in the next few months from now with the right guidance and mentorship. Time is the most valuable commodity that we have. Make sure that you don't waste it. If you want to join our community of successful traders and take your trading to the next level, there is an opportunity for you to do so. As a member, you get access to our exclusive live trading room webinars. You get access to real-time trade ideas, access to institutional research and market intelligence, access to our private members academy website, and also support and one-to-one mentoring. For more information, just go to www.jointhelivetradingroom.com. The link is also below this report in the description, so just click on the link, make an application, and we will of course get in touch with you ASAP.